Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Steins Gate 0. In the last episode, Rintaro took Maho and Amadeus Kurisu to an arcade in Akihabara. But now, Maho has wanted to go to the one place where Rintaro Okabe has feared to tread for 6 months. The radio building. The very place where Kurisu Makase met her unfortunate end. But many of the shops on the 7th floor were still open. We are just one floor below the 8th floor. And Rintaro was doing all he can not to break, broken as he is. There once again is the bloody flashback of Kurisu's death. 6 months ago, on July 28th, I killed Kurisu on the floor just above where I was standing, with my own hands. A very cruel twist of worldline convergence.
いや、事件があったのはこの上の階だと聞いている。
Rintaro trying to cover the fact that he actually knows what happened to Kurisu firsthand, given the fact that originally on the day of Kurisu's murder, he was the one who originally discovered her lying face down in a pool of blood at the end of the corridor. Although he would never have guessed that Kurisu Makase would be killed by none other than himself. I wasn't supposed to have been at the scene of Kurisu's death. I'd already asked Mayuri and Daru not to tell anyone. And as for our counterpart, he's most likely he's undergoing the exact same worldline trauma that we've been going through in the original Steins Gate Let's Play.
イベント会場とあとは倉庫とかになってる。
Nothing remarkable, at any rate, but the event hall was where Dr. Nakabashi's time travel lecture was being held.
行ってみてもいいのかしら。
To call it a press conference would be giving Nakabachi too much credit.
今は立ち入り禁止のはず。
And for all intents and purposes, it is off limits to Rintaro Okabe, because once he steps foot in that floor, once he steps 1 foot in that corridor, he can never go back. But the rope that always blocked off the way to the 8th floor wasn't there today. I could hear loud voices and laughter from above. Well, it's not surprising. It's been 6 months and looks like it's open to the public again. Since it was a day off, there must have been some kind of event going on upstairs.
大丈夫そうね。
I understand you need to visit the very place where Kurisu died, Maho, but for Rintaro Okabe, it's taking all of his self-control not to run screaming from the radio building and all of Akihabara. Maho headed up the stairs first. Moment of truth, Rintaro.
Oh.
Baby steps. Just one step at a time. I slowly dragged myself up the stairs. Even now, Rintaro's anxiety is taking its toll. And the closer he gets, the further he breaks. We passed by the event hall and into the back. It looked like there was no one around. Nothing had changed for 6 months, except for the fact that the crime scene has now been cleaned up as if nothing has ever happened.
ここだ。
Of course, you and I know better, don't we, adventurers? If you've been with me up to this point, there were no lights on, and the place seemed dark and lonely. And yet it was in this very storeroom that Kurisu Makase was killed. This time, the storeroom was locked.
そうこんな場所で
Dark, cold, and alone. I could see Maho's lips trembling as she whispered. It seemed strange. This was the place where Kurisu had died, covered in blood, and yet, nearby, the rest of the world continued on like it didn't care. And now I'd come back, even though this was where the one I'd loved had died.
もどかしいわ。私は物理学者ではないから相対性理論のことを詳細に理解しているわけではないけれど。
Speaking of physicists, Nakabachi is one, but when it comes to being a scientist, he's third rate. But it's rather odd that you would bring up Einstein's theory of relativity.
時間と空間が同列だというのなら、なぜ空間と同じように時間も容易に移動できないのかしらね。
Personally, I don't think that space and time are essentially the same thing. And as for the reason why we can't move through time as easily as we can move through space, I believe the answer lies in the mind and heart and soul of Rintaro Okabe, who is all too familiar with why it isn't as easy as one would like to
今
believe.
私たちは空間的にはクリスの死と同じ軸上にいるのよ。なのに時間軸がほんの少しずれているというだけで手出しすることすら叶わない。
Maho, if there is anyone in this world that feels the way you do right now, it is Rintaro. Who knows better than anyone how powerless one can be against time.
あなたこの前クリスにアマデウスの方だけど面白い質問をしたわよね。
So you remember that, do you?
タイムマシンは作れるかどうかって。
Well, in his defense, that was the question that he posed before the actual Kurisu Makase, although that was in the Alpha worldline.
あ
Although Rintaro tried to chalk it up as a thought experiment for Amadeus Kurisu.
ぜひ研究してみてほしいわ。真っ先に私が友人テストに名乗り出るから。
Yeah, it's rather ironic that you mentioned that, because lo and behold, there is actually a real time machine on the roof of this radio building, just above us. And then again there was the phone wave TBA, which now no longer exists in reality, since it was dismantled 6 months ago. I couldn't tell from the tone of her voice if she was serious or joking. She laughed, sadly. Even if she thinks it's far-fetched, I think there is a part of her that hopes that it is true. Time machines are real, you know, and there's one right above us. Of course, we can't just say that out loud nonchalantly. What would she do if I told her that? She would probably freak out or accuse us. Would she blame me for giving up on saving Kurisu and say she'd go back to the past herself? If only worldline convergence was that kind.
クリスが亡くなった時の状況について教えてくれない？
Well, the only thing we truly know for sure is that she was stabbed.
私詳しくは知らないの。
But it seems that the police have actually been withholding certain
俺だって
details.
ろくに知らないよ。前にそう話さなかったか。
And of course, Rintaro once again trying to play the part of his original counterpart, the one who initially discovered Kurisu's corpse lying in the corridor of the radio building.
でもアメリカにいた私よりは詳しいでしょ？
Well, other than the fact that we were heckling Dr. Nakabachi under the guise of Hoin Kiyoma, and we briefly interacted with Kurisu, I don't know what else to tell you. That won't
クリスは
cause everything to unravel.
どうしてこんなところに来たのかしら？
Yeah, that was the very first question that came to Rintaro's mind the moment she appeared to speak to him. Why would a genius like Kurisu Makase be an assistant for a third-rate hack by the name of Dr. Nakabachi to begin with? Of course, it wasn't until several world lines later that we eventually discovered the truth of that matter, that Nakabachi's real name is Soichi Makase, Kurisu's father.
クリスが死んだ時、すぐそこのイベントホールでは今日みたいにイベントが行われていたそうね。
Indeed, the time travel lecture. It seems such a frivolous thing, and it feels like it happened so long ago, which technically it did. But remembering the events of what happened afterwards only cause Rintaro nothing but pain and trauma. We could hear the occasional sounds of laughter coming from the event hall.
中鉢博士、去年の夏ニュースになった。
And to think that we only came to his conference on a whim and had Mayuri tag along with us.
ロシアに亡命してタイムマシンに関する論文を書いたって。
Yeah, about that paper.
その論文の内容はそれはひどいものだったらしいけれど。
Yeah, that definitely sounds like Nakabachi.
ただそれでピンときたのよ。アメリカのクリスの家に放火した連中もロシア語を話していた。
Yeah, Maho mentioned that it was Russian agents who sabotaged Kurisu's house in America, possibly looking for a laptop.
偶然かしら？
Doesn't seem like a coincidence at all, now that I think about it. And in fact, that actually raises a very serious question. Rintaro Okabe met Kurisu Makase on July 28th, albeit briefly, both times. And yet, prior to that, he had no knowledge of her whereabouts, let alone her existence, save for the article that was published in the Science magazine, which Daru just happened to have a copy of on the internet. But the point I'm trying to make is that between the events of March 2010, where Kurisu was still working with Maho in America, to her unfortunate death at the hands of Rintaro Okabe on July 28th, what if this conspiracy was happening between those two times? What if there is something more to this, something beyond the scope of both Rintaro Ogabei and Hoin Kiyoma that we don't know about, but will inevitably be forced to confront? But the further Maho questions, the further she gets to the truth, and the further needles of pain and guilt stab into the heart of Rintaro.
私は何らかの関連性があると思う。
Of course, it goes without saying that even though the events of that happened in America may be linked, may have something to do with Kurisu Makase, as I just said, before July 28th, there was no connection between Kurisu and Rintaro whatsoever, present or future.
だから中鉢博士について調べようと思ったんだけど、不思議なことに驚くほど情報がないのよ。ネットで検索しても本名すら出てこない。
Seems like the Russian Federation is keeping a lockdown on Dr. Nakabashi, but apparently you can't even find any files or information under the name Soichi Makase. Well, it's his own fault for absconding to Russia in the first place. He thought he was getting a first-class ticket to when he sought asylum. But he only has himself to blame for his circumstances. That is, if he is still alive. If all the information on Nakabashi is being restricted and concealed, then it's safe to assume that, like his now deceased daughter, Nakabashi is no longer of this world.
中鉢博士について言及しているブログやサイトを見に行っても、ほとんど閉鎖してるわ。しかもこの半年ほどで立て続けに。
So all the information on Nakabachi vanished in the time that Kurisu has been dead for these 6 months. Now for those of you who remember, Dr. Nakabashi's plane suffered a rather strange fire, which unfortunately his paper was ultimately spared the fate of being immolated and turned into dust and ashes thanks to the metal upa that was dropped by Mayuri and put into the envelope by Kurisu. And then Nakabashi stole the envelope which contained Kurisu's papers on time travel, and he pretty much plagiarized it as his own, although he did a very poor job of doing so.
一体クリスの周りで何が起きていたの？
Like I said, I have absolutely no idea.
もしかして今もまだそれは続いているの？
It could very well be, Maho.
あなたは何を隠しているの？
Something tells me you already know the answer to your question. Her eyes were pure and sought the truth. Kurisu used to get that exact same look in her eye all the same. That was all Kurisu Makase was ever truly interested in, the truth, no matter how far-fetched, no matter how ridiculous. In the end, all she ever sought was the truth. But
好奇心で足を突っ込まない方がいい。
indeed, it was curiosity that, in a manner of speaking, led to this mess. The curiosity of Hoin
俺は
Kiyoma.
もうたくさんだ。
But Rintaro has renounced that identity and washed his hands of all this.
今更だわ。私は片足を突っ込んでしまっているのよ。
But Maho seems intent to see this through to the bitter end.
それに考えてしまうのよ。この前襲われたのも、もしかすると私 私のせいじゃないかって。
It seemed to me from our assailant's twisted rantings that he was actually attacking us because of Amadeus.
君のせい。
But Maho seems to think that she was actually the real target.
狙われる理由があるのか。
I wonder why. And then she paused for a moment.
私はクリスの遺産を持っている。
Belongings. Some of Kurisu's belongings? I think she mentioned something like that. What did she mean? Maho had said that after Kurisu died, she'd gone to her home in America and received some of her belongings from her mother. Was she saying now that the attack was because of that? Well, anything's possible. My mind began to race. Russia, where Dr. Nakabashi had sought asylum, and ultimately threw himself into a corner. The people who attacked Kurisu's home spoke Russian, and just a few days ago the Russians probably had experimented with changing the past, resulting in a world line in which the Soviet Union was still present. Suza had said that World War III would be set off by the time machine. The time machine. Nakabachi's paper. There is a very gruesome flashback of Nakabachi attempting to strangle his own daughter. Right here on this very floor, no less. The paper he'd written about the time machine. The cause of the Third World War. A miraculous, nightmarish paper which would cause the deaths of 5.7 billion people. The time machine he discussed at his press conference was a rip-off of John Titor's, that is to say, this world line's Suzuha Amane. And of course it was that that very fact that was so rightly pointed out by Ho-Rin Kiyoma that had drawn the ire of Dr. Nakabashi and made him especially upset, and as always, due to his inferiority complex, he would vent his rage upon his own daughter, just because he couldn't deal with the fact that she was in fact far more talented than he could ever hope to be. But the one in his paper was different. I'd never managed to read it though. But my guess was that Kurisu had showed him the original that she had written on July 28th, and his paper was an inferior copy. In other words, you're very terrible at plagiarizing, good sir. Kurisu had written down instructions for making a time machine in a last-ditch effort to actually finally bridge the gap between her and her father. An act that was sadly in vain, and which led to the tragedy that now haunts the soul of Rintaro Okabe. I shuddered. I quickly booted up the Rhine program on my smartphone. I paged through my chat logs. That is to say, the logs with Daru. That hard drive and laptop that contained the data for the original version of Kurisu's paper. And all the fluff was between Rintaro and Daru, right down to the point where Daru reveals that both the hard drive and laptop belong to
ク
Kurisu.
リスのノート PC とハードディスク
And both of which are encrypted with the very security encryption developed by none other than Daru himself, which makes both of those items a very tough nut to crack.
あれの解析を依頼したのは
And come to think of it, we still don't know the person who actually gave him those two items in the first place. I looked at Maho. She looked back at me without smiling. It seems Maho may have an idea as to who gave Daru those two items in the first place, and then she nodded.
ええ、私よ。
Apparently it was Maho herself, which is actually a blessing in disguise, for us at least. And while she may not have been aware of the fact that Rintaro and Daru were acquaintances, much less friends, it is very fortunate that a rather fortuitous coincidence that she decided to go straight to Daru for this matter. From Maho's perspective, there were too many things about Kurisu's death that didn't make sense. Maybe that was why she decided to look into why Kurisu was killed. Of course, she'd assumed there were hints hidden inside her laptop and hard drive. But if my hypothesis was right, that laptop was too dangerous to be allowed to even exist. It was Pandora's box, with the power to unleash the Third World War. You all know the mythology of Pandora's box, don't we? A box given to mankind by the gods in Greek mythology. We were told never to open it, but a girl named Pandora let her curiosity get the better of her and opened it anyway. The box was filled with disasters, all of which were unleashed upon the world. It is said that the one thing that remained in the box was hope. In some instances, it has been said that the box was filled with not only disasters, but all the evils of the world. So that begs the question, regardless of which iteration of Pandora's box you've read about, if that box was filled with disasters and evil, what does that make hope but the greatest disaster and evil of them all? Food for thought.
どうして隠していた
Probably because she was suspicious of
最初
us.
はあなたと橋田さんの関係を知らなかった。橋田さんに頼んだのは本当に偶然よ。
As far as we're concerned, you made the right decision to give it to Daru.
そしてあなたはクリスのことについて何か隠しているように思えた。
And your suspicions were well-founded, but unfortunately once you know the truth behind Kurisu Makase's death, things between us will never be the same again.
そんなあなたに正直に全て話せるわけないでしょう。
Well played, Maho Yajo.
信用していないというわけではないのだけど。
You had to be sure. Not that
ク
we
リスの
blame
こと
you.
については慎重になった方がいいと思って。
If the Russian Federation is interested in Kurisu Makase, it's a safe bet that others will come looking as well.
それについては正解だよアマデウスのテスターになることを反対しなかったのもそういう打算があってのことか
Is that to keep tabs on Rintaro?
打算なんて言わないで。私はただクリスの友達であるあなたのことをもっと知りたかった。
So you wanted to use Rintaro's interactions with Amadeus Kurisu to know just exactly what his connection to the real Kurisu Makase was.
クリスの秘密を手に入れるために。
あの子のことをもっと知りたかったのよ。
I would trust Maho at this point, Rintaro. Her intentions are entirely honorable, especially where Kurisu is concerned. She glared right back, as if challenging me.
ダルはもう解析したのか？
I probably would say not. If he had, Daru would already be sending us a message via Rhine.
まだよ。だからアメリカに帰る前に最後にもう一度あなたと話をしようと思ったの。
So this was the only opportunity that Maho had to speak with Rintaro before she returned to America. So that's why she brought me here. I need to call Daru right now. That is a good idea. We are going to do that. Luckily we have Daru's number. Let's just hope he's not busy. I said, let us just hope he's not. Good, he's there.
今ラボにいるか？
いや。
Oh, he's not at the lab. Does that mean he's either he's either on the roof of the radio building, or he's currently busy at his secret job trying to get into Kurisu's laptop?
じゃあどこにいる？
Or he's at Meikui Nyan
家
Nyan.
で絶賛エロゲ中。どうかしてん？
Or that.
お前の裏のバイトの件で話がしたい。
Yeah. Daru is still Daru, unfortunately.
あ、あれか。なんかマキセ氏の情報を思い出した？
Yeah, about that. We might have a lead of sorts. I hope. After all, we have an acquaintance who just so happens to have some of Kurisu's belongings that were fortunately not burnt to a crisp, and who also happens to be your mystery client, by the way. Of course, that was a lie. He could be in danger if I didn't get that laptop back right now. I glanced over at Maho.
じゃあさ、LINE で送ってもらえるかな？
It's probably a
直
good
接会って
idea.
話をしよう。ラボで合流できないか？
But Rintaro wants to meet face to face.
今手が離せないから夕方でもいい？
エロゲなんて後でいくらでもできるだろう。
It's a matter of life and death.
さあせん、家でエロゲしてるってのは嘘。実は今バイト中で手が離せないんだよね。
I wouldn't be surprised if you were playing those while you were at your job there, Daru. My bad. Often used as part of the phrase, LOLOL, my bad. LOLOLOL. While theoretically an apology, it is often used to provoke or annoy somebody. Daru's trying to,
バイト？
yeah, hide his real job, by the way. Well, I was lying to him too, so I didn't really have room to talk.
じゃあ本当はどこにいる？手が離せないならこっちから行く。とにかく今すぐに話したい。
Yeah, we really need to have a serious talk about that laptop. Of course, Daru is loath to tell Rintaro where exactly it is that he
オカ
works.
リンには教えたくなかったんだけどな。やばげな仕事も多いから。
More dangerous than what we've been going through so far, Daru?
まあいいや、わかった。これから言うところに来てよ。
That should be good enough. The location he gave me was still in Akihabara. It was less than 5 minutes away. Let's just hope that we haven't been followed. Down an alley, a few turns off the main strip, all the hustle and bustle of the crowd completely disappears. We were on the 7th floor of an old mixed-use building. We were in Akihabara, at the center of Tokyo, in the middle of the day on Sunday, and still the alleyway we'd come in seemed lonely and abandoned. There we found the shop that Daru had told us about. Rather weird looking sign, although it might just be misinformation to hide its true purpose. There was a cute anime style sign on the steel door that read "Cosplay Media at Akihabara. We're open. Come on in." Yeah, that's not suspicious in the slightest. And apparently we've got a message from both Mayuri and Ruka. I'm out shopping with Ruka. Do you want to join us, Okabe? We're a bit busy right now. Well, we'll meet up later. Where are you? We'll send that. No point in lying now. Although Mayuri seems to be a bit curious. What happened? I'm about to have a bit of a long talk. With who? Daru. It's not something we can let a girl hear. You don't remind you, Rintaro, that Ruka's a guy. Yeah, what he said. I can't let you hear it, Ruka. You're too kind. It would knock you out cold. Huh. Oh, Green, don't do anything too weird. We should probably tell that to, Daru. But you haven't done anything like that lately, so it kind of feels like old times. The days of Ho and Kiyoma are dead. Sorry, ask me another time. No, sorry for bugging you. Talk to you later. Bye. Farewell. Fairly well indeed. And, actually I believe with that rather, lengthy phone conversation, I believe this is going to be the end of this episode of Let's Play Steins Gate 0. When we return, adventurers, we shall, well, first we will knock and then we'll enter and see just exactly what it is Daru really does at his so-called secret job. As always, until next we meet.